For a better future, let's talk about what matters. Hey everyone, welcome back to Yumi Talk, Yumi Walk podcast. It's Zimmah Neinaka, your host, and today we're diving into agribusiness. So we're here to talk with our young youths about shared ideas and perspective around agribusiness, also sparking up some powerful experiences from communities that have already been, supported with the EU initiatives for agribusinesses, and also just here to hear from our guests as well and their experiences around agriculture. So before we get into our conversation, we would love to introduce the lovely ladies in the room with us. So without further ado, I'll allow Tyla to start.
Hello, Olgeta. My name is Tyla Singirok. I am currently with the PNG Olympic Committee. One of my key deliverables is planning and executing the King's Baton Relay here in Papua New Guinea next year. I was the inaugural Miss Bird of Paradise Papua New Guinea for the years 2023 to 2024. And it was through the platform where I realized my passion for advocating for people with special needs, education for people with special needs, as well as women empowerment.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Gima and I'm a biologist with Project CIPIC in the CIPIC region. And I'm also a National Geographic Young Explorer. I'm passionate about the environment, about sustainable development and sustainable livelihood of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyla and Rebecca. Let's get into this conversation. So agriculture. What is agriculture? Well, in Papua New Guinea, agriculture is very vital to our people because it employs over 85% of our rural communities, not just through subsistence farming, but also large-time plantations that also export our cash crops such as coffee, vanilla, and cocoa. So we'll share all about that. So Rebecca, I do know that you're doing a lot of community work and a lot of risk assessment down for the CIPIC projects that are currently ongoing. And I'd love to hear what through your risk assessments, what are a few of the challenges that you've come across?
Thank you. So on the ground, we have a team that's doing risk assessment for the European Union's trade program. So on the ground, some of the challenges that young people and also communities they're facing are infrastructure and security issues and accessibility to market niche and all that. So the opportunities as well that they don't have. Some of the rural communities, they don't have access to like training programs and all that. Like maybe some they do, some they don't. And that's one of the disadvantages of those communities. And for security wise, like sometimes they end up between villages that are already in conflict, and then they encounter roadblocks and all that to prevents them from carrying the produce from where they are to the market because of security issues and accessibility to markets. Thank you.
All right. And Tyla, like overall, what is your idea of what are some of the challenges you think is faced with people that tap into the agriculture industry?
Yeah. I think that, we can all appreciate that majority of our population are back in the rural areas, and our country is not fully connected in terms of road infrastructure. And so some of the main challenges that people face, especially in the rural areas in terms of getting their produce up to the available markets, is the availability of roads, bridges, just infrastructure, helping them to take their produce from the villages to the markets. And then on top of that, they have a disadvantage in the opportunity of lack of awareness around linking the value chain and the global market as well. Some things that are not available to them in terms of awareness in e-commerce, in e-marketing. Our villages back there don't really tap into those spaces and utilize those spaces, so they're still stuck in the traditional mindset of agriculture or marketing of goods. So I think that's two of the main things or main disadvantages that I've seen or I'm pointing out.
Yeah, I think highlighting on all the challenges that you both have mentioned, we can see that we have challenges faced with security, market accessibility for the farmers, and also exposure. And like you mentioned, the linkages within the value chain management for production wise of whatever they are farming and whatever they're producing. So in line to that, we do have collaborative initiatives with the EU and with PNG, basically in provinces such as East Sepik and West Sepik. So they're doing a lot of work there in terms of the cash crops like cocoa, vanilla, and fisheries. And I'm not sure if you've seen on the recent news, but with TV1, they have put out a news that the chocolates that they're producing in the Sepik has been doing really well and winning a lot of European hearts in the global market. So that's something we can appreciate that comes as an outcome of this partnership. And that is through programs, as mentioned by Rebecca, which is the EU Stray program. And the EU Stray program, as mentioned in our last episode, is a large grant funding program from the European Union under the Global Gateway Strategy that provides various different areas of assistance and help to the communities in our rural areas. So particularly for our topic, it's agribusiness. And it goes into helping the farmers with sustainable practices and also areas that we've mentioned with proper road connectivity through sustainable infrastructures like road rehabilitation projects and all of that. So seeing that we already have these challenges, what do you think as youths, how can we motivate the people young youths that want to tap into it, that even if there are challenges, how can they overcome these challenges?
I'd like to start off by saying that our people in the rural areas they're not lazy. They've already got something going for them. They're already doing mass production of goods, of crops, vegetables, whatever it is that they're farming. Like you mentioned, cocoa, vanilla, ginger even. And I think something that would really help push them to strive for more in that space is just ensuring that they are aware that programs like the EU Straight is in place. And with programs like the EU Straight that not only look at just one component of the whole chain linkage that we were talking about, they look at production to transportation to marketing. All of these things are already connected. And it's funny because I was just online and someone had asked me something about the European Union, actually asking if these programs are only tailored to young professionals like ourselves. And so I had to tell them, no, they're reaching out to you, you in the grassroots level, you way back in the village. These programs are tailored and available to you. And it's just that reassurance, just to tell them that these programs are available for you to help boost what you're already doing and take it to that next level, to help you build something for yourself and to put money back into your pockets and as well to your families and your villages. So just by using our voice and by telling them that these programs are available, and if they have the drive and the passion to go after these programs and to really reach out and grab these programs for themselves, that will really push them into the space of agribusiness.
Yeah, I really love where you're pushing it, where you're telling them, this is what we're advocating for here on the podcast. We're not saying that this is specifically segmented to professional youths, but we're talking to everyone as a whole. You can be good at something that maybe us here sharing our perspectives aren't good at, and that's something to appreciate. So if you see that something is lacking in your communities, I think you should step up and also take that challenge and initiative to do something. And what do you have to share on that as well?
Thank you. So they're already motivated by the wealth creation that they're producing. They see that, this is what I'm doing and I'm generating income from it, and the result of the work of their hand, they're motivated by that. But what we can do to motivate them is, like Tyla mentioned, creating opportunities for them and communication as well. They don't know that the European Union is there to help them, but some of the rural areas, they don't have access to internet connection, so these informations don't reach them. So creating more awareness and putting information out there, maybe on flyers in areas where they are unable to see it on the internet. So we can support them by making it known to communities, and also to create training opportunities for them. Young people, when they feel involved and when they feel that they're valued, and they feel okay, I am a valued member of my community, of my society, and my views are valued. So I can do more, and then they tend to do more and greater things.
Yeah, and I think tying it back down to agribusiness, and in East Sepik province alone, they've done that actually to educate the youths through the EU Straight program. So in terms of sustainable practices in farming, and also just having, like, I've read that, just understanding the weather. Like, we do know that there are traditional practices that we have passed down through generations and how we can run agriculture here in our country. And of course that sustained us. But what they bring in is technological advancements and just enhancing what we already have. So they upskill, they employ, they train, not for the communities to rely on them, but to rely on themselves. So I think that's the main important part. Again, I really would love if Rebecca could just share a little bit about what you're doing currently with the project to assess, and you work closely with communities. So if you could share a few stories with us and just enlighten us on how have just motivating the young people has felt in the industry of agriculture, but overall, how can the youths that are watching that want to tap into agriculture, how can they get or be a part of this?
Thank you. So on the ground, like I said, we have a team that's going around doing European Union assessment surveys. So some of the success stories that they mentioned were seeing young people tap into agribusiness because like they've seen potential in land and in the people. So they like got an education, and then by getting an education, they also motivated other young people who have dropped out of school. And then they've like motivated them to go back to school and get an education so that they can go back to their communities and help their communities. So this is just one of the success stories that the team shared with me. And I think that it's inspiring because the young person now is not just helping his community and his family, but he's also helping surrounding communities. And now with the European Union Straight program, because of the free training that he provides, the European Union are now supporting other communities that are receiving training from him. So he's like, he helped them, and then now they've gotten this training with this knowledge, and then they're receiving funding and facility equipment support from the European Union. And it's motivating, like, to young people, like, oh, if this person can do it, I can do it as well.
Sorry, I'll just like to add on to that. I think it's a really beautiful thing when someone who's gone out to get an education and goes back to their village and invests in their village. There's the saying that if you learn something, you have to pay it forward. And that's exactly what he's done with what Rebecca is telling us. And that's how you grow your little ecosystem of empowerment. You make sure that not only you have access to these opportunities, but also the next person and the next and the next. And then before you know it, you have a whole village that is self-sustaining and that is self-reliant. And that entire village can now turn around to uplift another village in the same local area. Yeah, it's just a whole powerful thing is what I wanted to add.
It is, yeah.
Thank you. And would you have any from your own experiences or any stories you'd like to share in line with anything that has, you've come across in terms of agribusiness and also that inspires you to try and like see what the agriculture industry has to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a few years back. So my dad was out of formal employment and he was just figuring out what he wanted to do. And he's always had a green thumb. And around that time, moringa was this whole topic of, all the health benefits in just one pod. And so we decided to start planting moringa. And then we saw that we could make so many different things with moringa: hair oil, body oil, hair cream. We could grind the nuts for tea. We could boil the leaves for food. Kind of some kumu you think him. And so from that, it was just by word of mouth what we were doing. We were just sharing it with our immediate families and then through our little friend circle. And that grew into something really big. So we went back home to Rigo. My mom's from Rigo. And we planted so many moringa trees and we had a little plantation. And from there, we were able to make income from this. And it sustained our family for a very long time. And we were able to reap the health benefits of it as well as our family friends as well. And then I saw that we were seeing self-sustaining benefits because you don't really have to do much. If the conditions are right, the tree will grow anywhere. But sadly, because of where we're from, in Rigo, it was a floodplain. And so there was this flash flood that came and, it took down our entire plantation. But then I guess at that time as well, another calling had come up for my dad, and so he was needed back for his service, and then we just completely reshifted our focus. But we still use moringa. We still have trees planted in our own home. But just to use that as an example, it's not just moringa, it's coconut. We have all of these things available to us, and if my family can just start up a moringa plantation out of, hey, why not we just do this? No money, no seed capital, nothing. It was just moringa and good soil and word of mouth. Then I'm pretty sure that back in the rural areas, people are already doing exactly that. We just have to make sure that we give them that platform to amplify their voices and to make sure that they have something sustainable going. So it's not just within the rural areas, but they also reach out to the urban communities as well, and our regional and global communities. Let's not deny ourselves that our cocoa is right up there on the market scale. Our coffee, our vanilla, we are all already there. We're a key competitor up in that global scale. And these are just coming from rural villages up in the highlands in the East Sepik province, East and West Sepik. What if we had all provinces of Papua New Guinea doing that?
In terms of agribusiness,
in terms of agribusiness only. Yeah.
And I love you talked about the use of moringa. That is a very innovative way to utilize one plant. Yeah. And if everyone were to have the same mindset, like just to be curious to see how other plants could be also of any healing methods to it. And then you also mentioned with ensuring to understand how if this soil is good to grow this or to grow that. And that is what the European Union is doing in terms of training them as well, to making sure that they understand that, okay, this is what you can plant. These are the methods you could use. And you did mention that, in terms of bringing this across to, like, sometimes they want to bring it out there to get more opportunities, but there's not much awareness done. But this podcast could be a way of amplifying the voices of youths to other youths to hear and to, again, ripple that effect. But if we can't go rural based because not everyone has network connectivity, we can always, the youths that are watching, go back to your communities and make awareness. It takes one person to change a whole community. It just needs you to come with that passion and that drive. So from your perspective overall, as young individuals, young people, Papua New Guinea, I just want to know, in terms of the other youths that want to tap into agribusiness, how can we amplify their voices to lift their families and the communities? Because we know most of our communities back home rely on farming or agriculture. And so how can we as young people, through our awareness, what forms of awareness should we use? How can we tackle that challenge of having our communities being uplifted to utilize agriculture? We can...
Thank you. So what we can do as young people, like you mentioned some of them already, like we share stories, like some of the success stories that we're sharing now. Maybe people, because they don't have access to connectivity and communication, they don't hear these stories. But then through word of mouth, like stories, they pass through word of mouth faster. And then they hear these stories and then they feel like, oh, this person is going through the same experience as I am. Maybe I can do something because he or she has done something and I can do something. And then they might be curious, like, what did they do? How did they do it? And then through that, they find information, or they go to people that they already know who are doing similar things that they're interested in or they're passionate about. And then they learn just through word of mouth and through like information that is shared around, like having open discussions and debates and all that.
Yeah, I think it's really good to have collaborative conversations with all the youths to really see where each person comes and fits into.
Yeah, I second that as well, because before we had any of our internet connectivity, before we had pen and paper, we had our voice, we had oration. That's how our ancestors would pass down knowledge of, our cultural knowledge, our traditions, even skills, life skills to equip their young people. And so being able to just sit down and having these little conversations, it's the engine room where big change starts. Little conversations with the right people, because that's where you can share ideas. And then if you have the passion behind it, if you have the drive behind it, that pushes you to take that first step. And so if we were to motivate or to inspire our young people to go into the business of agriculture, because they're already doing that back where they're from, what we can do to help them to enhance what they're already doing is to show them the different programs that are in place that provide that pathway, example, the EU Straight that we've been talking about, and to really teach them how to apply for these grants, what to put down, what to say. Some of these grants are tied grants. Your funder wants to know where exactly their money is going and how it's going to be spent, and the type of impact that it will come back to your little village or your community. And so if we equip them with that knowledge, we're essentially teaching them to be self-reliant. They don't have to come back to us to ask what happens next, what do we do next, or how can I move a step forward. If we take the time to teach just one young person, one youth, one empowered son or daughter of Papua New Guinea, and then this person takes this knowledge and tries it out, trial and failure, try and fail until you get it right and see what works for you. And then after you do that and see what works for you, if you're able to pay it forward to the next person, we will be able to have multiple people, a whole population of young people who are already in agribusiness. Yeah,
I feel like if you equip with the knowledge behind the agribusiness alone, you should pass it on to the next, so that the message could keep carrying across and help and benefit all our communities. And in sense of communities, prior to the podcast, you did share that you come from a small community and there's a lot of challenges that your community faces. So how would you want to be that voice for your community, especially because you've shared a lot about how you've seen the challenges and how you want to be an impact for your community. So you could also enlighten us more on that.
Thank you. So I think because my community the community that I come from, we don't have access to internet connectivity. That's why I'm very familiar with this this issue. So they don't have exposure to programs online and all that. And then I am this one person in the city that has access to all this. And then I'm writing grants, I'm applying for funds and all that. So whenever I receive such funding, I go back to my community to help them. And they're also motivated seeing someone from their community go that far and are able to go back and then to give back to their community. So the children, I usually involve little children in my community, and also young people and elderly people as well, because they carry the traditional knowledge that are being passed on. So we like to get everyone included. So the projects that I focus on are mainly sustainable livelihood projects like water tanks and food. And one of the projects that I did, not a project, but a research that I did, was that I realized that we were only eating certain food while other produce weren't growing really well. And I was wondering why is this? So because I studied biology and environmental science, I used that knowledge to go back to my community, and then I did played around with the soil and did some soil testing and all that. And then the children, they were so curious, what is she doing? We wanna know what she's doing. And then I got them involved, and I taught them about soil sciences and what plants they grow in this environment and what doesn't grow. And the reason why you're eating this is because the soil can only produce this, but the reason why we don't have this is because it's unable to grow at this type of soil. So I found that the soil was it's sandy and slightly acidic. So that's when I started encouraging them, okay, we can grow lemon and tomatoes. And then you can use that because the yield is greater. You can sell that and then trade that with the mainland. Yeah. So in a way I was motivating the young people, because not a lot of our young people go this far. So I think right now many of them are getting an education and going far. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example of a youth that's stepping up and trying to take lead in community in sense of just making that awareness. And I think if we had our youths here as well that are well educated in their specific areas, to go back and give back to their communities your knowledge would mean so much back home in your community. So the real work that you could do and to give back is to go back and see the real challenges and come up with solutions. So thank you for sharing. Also, finally, looking into the future of Papua New Guinea in terms of agribusiness, what, through your eyes, what do you see as young people? How can we create a sort of a next stepping stone of agriculture, making it the future of our country? Because as we mentioned at the start, it employs 85% of our population. So how can we go about this in terms of agriculture going into the future? Tyla?
I think just taking examples of what she said. So I love a curious mind. It keeps you energetic, it keeps you lively. And as young people, we already have that energy in us. And another thing as well is sticking to what's already there, what's already working, and just making sure that we enhance it. Like what she said with their type of soil, which is more acidic. And she found out that they could only grow lemon and tomato in high yield. And so stick to what works for you. In your local area, because you're going to spend so much time, effort, money, sweat, tears, blood to creating something that's new. When you already have an environment that's already in equilibrium and it's telling you, this is what I can give you, this is where you can start. How can you take that and push it and make it into something greater? And so I think apart from our knowledge, which is a very expensive resource, it's also our time. Time is a very, very expensive resource. So imagine if using all of these things that we talked about now, use what works for you, use your knowledge. Imagine if you start doing that today, and then 2 months from now, 10 months from now, a year from now, you will see that growth over time. It only just takes that first step. Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, thank you. So PNG is known for the Cook Archaeological Site, which is historically, we are known for agriculture. So I believe if our past was agriculture, then our future has to be agriculture because that's what we're good at. And it's in our roots. We don't need to go and learn it in school because we've been taught that through our ancestors. And in the village, we learn by watching, and we watch them go to the garden, and then we follow them, and they show us this is how we plant cacao, this is how we plant a banana, this is where we plant it. So with all the knowledge that we already have, we can incorporate our knowledge from school, the Western knowledge, and then we use that to improve our livelihood in the community. Don't disregard your traditional knowledge because that's the basis of our education.
Absolutely.
That's where we first learned. It was in the village or in our homes.
Yeah.
So we hold and value those knowledge, and then with the Western knowledge that we receive, we embrace those and incorporate them into our daily lives to improve them.
Yeah, I think it's good that we already have a blueprint of the traditional knowledge we had, just enhance it with what we receive through partnerships like with the European Union. So thank you again for this very interesting conversation. I wish we could carry on, but unfortunately we don't have much time. So before we end this episode, I'd love if you'd share your word of advice to the viewers that are watching you today. We'll start off with Rebecca.
Thank you. So as young people, we are the future of this nation. And our ideas matter. Don't think that our ideas are too crazy. Maybe it is crazy because it's never been done before and it's been different. So a motto that I go by, if you're scared of doing anything, do it scared anyways. And like Martin Luther King Jr. mentioned, if you are unable to fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then crawl, as long as you keep moving forward. Thank you.
Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I just want to speak directly to the empowered son and daughter of Papua New Guinea who's out there listening to this podcast. You are the future of this country. You and I are the future of this country. And it's time we start to act like we are the future because we will inherit that tomorrow. And something that I would like to leave with you is to always bet on yourself. Continue to bet on yourself and push yourself because you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, and you know the efforts that you can put into refining these weaknesses so they can turn out to be your strengths again. Just to close off with my little word of advice, if you are in the position to go back home to your village and to share your knowledge, share your skills with your local villagers, please do so. It takes a village to raise up a child. It takes a village to raise up a country. And you and I are that village. So yeah, that's all I want to say.
Thank you. So I guess bet on yourself and keep moving. And thank you again for joining us for this interesting conversation. I hope you enjoyed. And if you haven't seen episode 1, it was on Youth in Action with Cheyenne and Adele. So please go on over and catch up with that. Also, second episode was on sustainable infrastructure. So if you want to learn more of that, please go and watch those videos. And yeah, thank you for joining the conversation today. Hope you enjoyed our guests. Again, please don't forget to subscribe, give a like, and drop a comment down below. And also, if you have any questions for the European Union, we'll also leave the email down below, which you could reach out from. Again, thank you so much for joining us on Yumi Talk, Yumi Walk. And remember, change starts with you.